Joining me now is Wolfgang Koester. He is FiREapps Chairman and CEO. Boy, it's interesting that he says that because from the outside looking in, a weaker yen just seems to be a foregone conclusion here.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think that the Prime Minister has already said so, and quite frankly, they actually already put out a target at 100 against the yen, and we're starting to move towards it. The Japanese already in the 90s were known to be very manipulative and able to really move their yen the way they want to, and the biggest indicator to me on that was, while I'm not in the business of actually looking at whether currency goes one way or the other, is to really say, look at hit the market in least liquid times, and they did so right between Christmas and New Year's. Unfortunately, that sets companies up in the United States to get impacted. You saw the automotive CEOs almost right prior to the inauguration with the President Obama actually going in there saying, we got a problem here, a big problem. We can't let the dollar yen go to 100.
Well, that's interesting. So this is why you're calling it Yen Week, because of the amount of American companies many of these companies in our portfolios, you mentioned the automakers, that are going to be affected by this weakening yen, by the monetary moves that we're seeing out of the Japanese. Give me some names of companies that are on your radar that you think are going to be, that should be concerned and we should be concerned about.
Yeah, I can. Actually, when I came here, I don't know if you can see this, I came with actually a list of about 9 pages of them, but I'll throw a couple of them out there.
I got 2 minutes, all right.
Yeah, no, I won't read them to you, I promise. But, you know, start looking at companies that, you know, you saw, let me just take a step back. You saw McDonald's getting significantly hit on this. That was pretty obvious, and quite frankly, some of the analysts like Raymond James saw that prior to happening, and they actually went to neutral from buy on when they saw this starting to happen. Apple wasn't known as much to be doing it, and they didn't really announce it. But if you look at Apple's revenues, you saw all of a sudden 61% of their revenues come from abroad. I'm expecting roughly 20% of that comes out of Japan, when 20% of that revenues is actually now showing up as 11% less. That's pretty significant. You saw that in there. But now looking forward to that, you look at companies like a Corning. They will be impacted by it, or you look at a Harley will significantly impact. And then you look at even companies that are smaller companies, so it's not just for the big names that everybody knows, but an Integris, $750 million revenue companies. They talked in prior quarters about the yen. Some of these companies actually had come out and said, we are hopeful that the yen doesn't weaken. Well, unfortunately, that hope did not come true.
We were just showing our viewers Corning, you mentioned that, but Harley Davidson, Ralph Lauren. I would think Ralph Lauren in the retail sector is just the tipping point of what could be major issues, because so many of those, in particular those high retail companies, depend on Japanese revenue.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. You're Ralph Lauren, another one where Japan will be impacting them, and they won't be all positive. You're going to look at the top line. You're going to see some impacts there. They had some offsetting on some other currencies, but it isn't going to be big enough. The major currency that in previous quarters have been very helpful to them are not going to be very helpful for them this quarter. It
doesn't just hit them when it comes to Japanese shoppers, too. It's U.S. shoppers as well, but that's another segment. All right, let's talk about the companies that are actually... Let's talk about the companies that are actually prepared, that can kind of weather the storm of the yen. Who do you like in there, or who do you think is most prepared, best prepared?
Well, I mean, you look at, actually, you're talking about, you know, that you're going to talk about Yahoo. That company's very well prepared. They've done risk management properly for years. I know they got other things that they're thinking about, and currency may not be the number one. But when it comes to financial risk management, solid company. Yet companies I've talked about before in that same sector, like a Google, doing a great job at this thing. And Accenture, another area, completely different sector. Or you're looking at the pharmas. We've seen Pfizer's and the Merck's doing a great job. So this is something that, you know, technology can help these companies prepare and not have them impact at the bottom line. Too many of these companies are still doing not what they need to be doing in this area.
You know, and we're looking at those companies as well, and I think the breadth, the mixture of these companies is also what I think is fascinating about how a currency can affect a company and affect a shareholder. Last quarter you came on the show, you were talking about currency volatility, billions of dollars in losses. Do you still kind of think the same way that you did 1 month ago?
I absolutely do, and the only difference is what currency is next. These companies that are not managing it to be basically currency agnostic, I'm going to be sitting here in 3 months and we're going to talk about maybe the yen, but maybe we're going to talk about Brazilian real and what companies that will be impacted. And this, quite frankly, this list of companies will be likely a different list. So, but it's still, there's going to be a sector of companies that really, not from a industry sector, but from a risk management sector, companies that are not doing it well. But the good news is there's more and more companies doing it well, and hopefully that list that I come on with will continue to shrink.
Wolfgang, I told our viewers currencies are fun, and it is. Yeah. Very interesting. Wolfgang Koester. This is interesting. FiREapps Chairman and CEO. Thank you, Wolfgang. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.